Hello my friends, today we're gonna make a huge and emotional progressive house drop like Martin Garrix in FL Studio. Let's start by creating some emotional chords. Now let's chop up the chords and create a rhythm. When we're done with the chords, let's try to compose a catchy melody. Damn, I actually really like that melody. Really simple but still emotional. Guys, now that we've composed a melody, we can start building the drop. Let's start by creating a f***ing huge lead. We'll begin with the serum layer playing the melody. Then we'll add some more lead layers. Alright my dudes, this is where the magic happens. I'm of course talking about the mixing. If we want the lead to be huge, we have to add the right mixing effects and push it to its limits. I started off by adding a big reverb. The reason I added reverb first is because when I then add compression afterwards, the reverb will be compressed too. I know it's not the most conventional thing to do, but it makes the reverb huge, so what the heck. And guys, remember, there's really no rules in music. If it sounds good, go for it. The next thing we're gonna add is some compression with OTT, an EQ, some distortion and compression using Camel Crusher, a second EQ, a soundedizer, and lastly a final EQ. This is what the lead sounds like without the mixing. And this is with. When we're done mixing, we're also gonna add some sidechain. I'm also gonna add this little violin sample to fill in the empty space at the end of the melody. That sounds really weird. I love it. Now my friends, we're gonna make some nice and powerful chords. Let's start with this piano layer. The chords consist of 2 piano layers and 2 synth layers. Now guys, let's mix the chords to try and make them as powerful as possible. We're actually gonna mix the piano layers and the synth layers separately. Let's start with the piano layers. We're starting with this. And we're gonna turn them into this. We'll start by adding a stereo shaper to make them wider, then some compression with OTT, EQ, distortion and compression with Camel Crusher, some more distortion with Devasta, but you can use Fruity Fast Dist if you don't have that plugin, then a second EQ, and lastly a soundedizer for some bigness. Alright guys, now we're gonna mix the synth layers. We're starting off with this. And we're gonna turn them into this. The first thing we're gonna add is an EQ, then some compression with OTT, a Fruity Stereo Shaper, a second EQ, Camel Crusher, soundedizer, and a final EQ. Alright, this is what all the chord layers sound like without the mixing. And this is with. Nice. We're also gonna add some sidechain. Now my good men, we will create a fat bassline. But first, I would truly appreciate it if you subscribed and turned on post notifications. We'll start with this synth 1 layer playing this bassline. Now let's add some more bass layers. Now we'll mix the bass. Our goal here is to make it as crisp and powerful as possible. Let's start by removing some unnecessary frequencies. Then we'll add some compression with OTT, distortion using Fruity Fast Dist, a second EQ, Camel Crusher, a soundedizer, and lastly 2 more EQs. This is the bass without the mixing. And this is with. Sounds much better now. When we're done mixing, we're also gonna add some sidechain. This is what we have so far guys. It sounds nice, but let's add some pads on top to add some warmth and fullness to the drop. The pads are gonna play the exact same chords as the main chords, just without being chopped up. I used these 3 pad layers. Guys, this is a little trick that will make your drop a bit bigger. I added this white noise that plays through the entire drop. If you want to create the same white noise, just add this FL Studio stock plugin and use these settings. This is what it sounds like with the white noise. And this is without. As you can hear, it makes it a bit bigger. Guys, we're also gonna add some harmony chords on top. It's just this simple saw layer playing these harmony notes while being controlled by this cutoff automation. As you can hear, it makes the drop a bit more emotional. Now lastly, we're gonna add some nice drums and effects. Alright guys, that was all of the elements of the drop, but before I show you the result, I would sincerely appreciate it if you went and checked out my sample pack. The link is in the description. Alright boys, here we go. If you liked the video, please be sure to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Love you guys.